Hello students and parents, welcome to BTech 360. We're going to discuss about NIT Rourkela today. This was established in 1961 as REC Rourkela. NIT Rourkela was built to support India's industrial heartland. It was set near major steel and mining hubs. It has grown into one of India's most respected NITs, known for very rigorous academics, strong alumni network, and research-led engineering education. Let me take you through data so that you understand how to get into NIT Rourkela, what are the cutoffs and JEE Main ranks that you need to get into NIT Rourkela, and most importantly, what kind of placements, what kind of jobs can you expect if you have to join this institution in different branches. Let me take you through data and you'll understand that. And before I move any further, please subscribe to BTech 360 if you've not already done that. We are doing a lot of work to support you, to help you, to aid you, to ensure that you get into the best engineering college. Support us, just subscribe to BTech 360. Now, about NIT Rourkela. This was established in 1961, which means it's a 65-year-old institution. Right. It's an INI, of course, which is Institution of National Importance. Now, INIs typically have greater autonomy to create their own courses, especially in the current times. It's very important for institutions to be very agile and start creating courses as and when certain big development happens, especially in tech space. So, these people are an INI, which means that they're much more supposed to be more agile than any other because they don't need to take permission from anyone. The thing that there's a space or a scope for them to create a course, they will do that, which is where the specializations come in a lot, right? Spread across 647 acres. So one of the large campuses that you have in the country. The total UG students is 4,126. The total of which 80% are boys and 20% are girls, right? And 47% come from the outside the state. Now this obviously would happen because remember, all NITs have a 50% reservation for the within the home state and 50% outside the state. So obviously that's how the distribution would be. But this also has about 7% coming from outside the country, which is very good. Which means NIT Rourkela is so good that students from outside the country also want to be coming and studying in this institution. So that is the overarching numbers that you're dealing with. Now we talk of placements. The placement that we're showing here are those that are submitted to the Government of India for NIRF purposes, which is National Institutional Ranking Framework. Now this ranking framework ranks institutions based on actual data, and this data is submitted by the institutions on an affidavit, which means it's signed and sealed, which means that it's much more authentic than what a marketing brochure would talk about. So we're taking slightly older data, 1 year old data, but it's important for me to show you the actual data that is submitted to the Government of India because it's much more authentic and correct and true as compared to what a marketing brochure would want to claim, and which is where we're showing you that. When we look at that data in the year 21-24, which means students who passed out, got admitted in 21 and passed out in 24, 1,131 students were admitted, of which 1,011 students graduated. Now, the balance 100-120 can be a part of the integrated program that you have, or might have dropped out, or might have failed. Any of those things would have happened, right? Of this 1,011 students, 821 students were placed. More importantly, 128 students moved for higher studies. Now, this for me is suspect for a simple reason. If you look at this very closely, the number of students who moved from placement or moved out of placement process and opted for higher studies seems to be increasing year on year, right? And this for me is alarming because when you look at this, there is almost a 320% growth in the students who are opting for higher studies. From 40 to 128 it is a 320% growth. This is very unusual. Now, why this happens is some of these institutions, when they cannot place students, or when the students don't get good offers, or when the student is not comfortable with an offer that's coming in, what they do is they move linearly to say that, I'm not going to be sitting in the placement process, I want to move for higher studies. And the institutions then, what they do is they remove this 128 students to come up with the placement percentages. Because now what we're talking of is the total number of students who are looking for placement is 1,011 minus 128. So when you look at that number, suddenly the total number of students that this institution has to place suddenly comes down to about 900 plus. Right? And which is the entire thing? It's about 880, 890 is what it will come to, right? Now, suddenly what you see is from the 900 or 820 were placed, the placement percentage becomes 93%. Otherwise, when you look at it as 1,011 or 821, it's only 80%. But you remove this 128. Why did the 128 students move for higher studies when they're pursuing a BTech is an open question, right? And remember, we are still not talking about the students who are admitted because there are 120 gap here also. So very clearly there seems to be something which is not completely clean that makes this 93% stand on its own feet. I would question this 93% number. If I were to be looking at it, I'll look at it as an 85% kind of a placement percentage. 80 to 85% and not more, right? So that is what it is. And the other thing that's happened is, if you look at the median salary, what was 10 lakh rupees has moved to 12.5 lakh, has moved to 15.25 lakh. This also is a case because, for example, there is a possibility that some of the students got placed also, right? But what they do is, when you look at median and when it's falling too dramatically, when you consider everyone, you remove some people at the bottom out of the placement process so the median moves up. So what is 1 to 100 will become 1 to 80. So the 41 becomes the median instead of 51 becoming the median salary. That also is a possibility out here. But very clearly, the placement percentage for me is a suspect thing. And to that extent, the median CTC also is a suspect thing at this point in time. But having said that, this is what is submitted to the government of India. So I only show what is submitted to the government of India. That for me is NIT Rourkela, right? Now, what is the average salary and what kind of placement happened at branch level? Now, this information, we get it on an RTI. So we file RTIs with the government, and this information that we're showing is from the RTI responses that we have. Because it's one is to say that 99% or 92% students are getting placed. But at a branch level is what you join in. You don't join the institution and you need to ultimately choose a branch, right? When you look at the branch, in civil engineering, 56% is the placement. Computer science, 75% is a placement. Electrical, 78% is placement. Now, this is from the total actual intake is what we've taken. Whereas they've removed the students who failed, they removed the students who opted for higher studies and come up with this whole number. We look at it from the overall intake perspective. And here, 69.64% is a placement. Mechanical is 83.65% placement. But more importantly, this is very important for you to understand what is the kind of salary you must expect based on the branch. Because it is a branch that places you and not just the college, right? Now, civil engineering, the average salary is 8.33 lakh. And the median is 7 lakh. So now imagine, if the median is 7 lakh, the lowest can be about 4-5 lakhs also. And that is something that you must remember. That when you choose a branch and the median salary is only 7 lakh rupees, then the lowest can be as low as 5-7 lakhs. That also is if you get placed. Because the placement percentage itself is 56%. And that is something that you should be very, very cautious about. Of course, the highest is 23.5 lakh, CS is 64 lakhs and those kind of things. Take this screenshot of this, you understand exactly what I'm saying. You should be extremely cautious of how you go about selecting a branch in a particular college, because that is what determines how you come out with the best student outcome possible. So at times it's far better that you do not choose this kind of a branch which has lower placement if the placement is your end objective. And it's far better that with the same rank, you might get into a better branch in another NIT, which gets you a better and placement prospect. Because here 56% is the only placement and median salary is 7 lakhs. Just imagine what we're going through in the process, right? So that is what it is. Now, how do you get into this and what kind of rank gets you? Here, what we're talking about is outside the home state. We're talking of outside the home state and the category ranks. We're talking of outside the home state category rank for NIT Rourkela, right? When we look at that data, for CS, you need to get 3,431 rank to be a part of, NIT Rourkela. For AI, it is 4,448. For electronics and communication, it's 5,785. This is the highest rank. Remember that. This is the highest rank that is out there. For electronics and instrumentation, 9,555. And for electrical engineering, it's 10,623. Right. For EWS category rank, 438. Outside the home state, NIT Rourkela, CS. For AI, it's 538. Electronics and communication, 748. Electronics and instrumentation engineering, 1265. Electrical engineering, 1528. And similarly for OBC, 1214, 409 and 230 category rank BTech computer science outside home state. 1454, 880 and 3113 for OBC, SC and ST for AI. And electronics and communication, 2131 for OBC and CL, 1169 for SC, ST 465. Electronics and instrumentation engineering, 3932 for OBC, 1921 for SC, 585 for ST. For electrical engineering, 4,051 for OBC, 2,033 for SC, and 912 for ST. Here we removed all categories. We didn't talk of home state category, neither, and we are using it with a filter of gender, male, and with no physical disability, because any extra numeracy seats actually alter the ranking. The thing. What our objective and our intent here is to show you what are your chances of getting into this and at what branch you'll get at what rank, which is JEE Main rank, outside home state, category rank for NIT Rourkela. Moving further, chemical engineering 18,034, right? Industrial design 24,030, mathematics integrated. This is a very good program, by the way. I'm surprised that, but of course, MSc. BTech is 25,282. Metallurgical is 30,135. You also have for EWS 3,008, for chemical 6,935 for OBC, 3,815 for SC, 955 for ST. For industrial design 4,662 for EWS, 8,579 for OBC NCL. These are all category ranks, non-home state. I keep repeating this so that you don't forget that. 5,540 for SC and 1,930 for ST. For MSc Integrated Mathematics, 3,929 for EWS, 11,164 for OBC NCL, 4,016 for SC, 1,501 for ST, 3,729 for EWS, 8,296 for OBC NCL, 4,293 for SC, and 1,025 for ST. And for metallurgical materials engineering, 4,875 for EWS, 9,868 for OBC NCL, 5,761 for SC, and 2,128 for ST. So this is what it is. As we move along, I'll show you other branches also. For biotechnology, it's 32,000. Take a screenshot of this. General category 32,227. For ceramic engineering, 34,022. Biomedical engineering, 34,766. Mining engineering, 35,731. And 40,010 for food processing engineering. I told you earlier, this came on the industrial hub at mining. So you actually have mining engineering. So that is what an INI does. An INI starts creating courses which are important for that locality so that they can actually deal with that, right? So that is what it is. Now, what are the companies that are, recruiting at NIT Rourkela? Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Adobe, Apple, Oracle, Uber, Bloomberg. So you actually have the tech companies, the software companies, the FMCG companies, the Swiggy, the automotive companies, the Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland, Bosch, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, investment banks. So you actually have every kind of company, and consulting companies like McKinsey. ISRO also is going and recruiting. So you have all kinds of companies going and recruiting. Now, we also looked at data of how many students actually studied at NIT Rourkela and what are they doing currently. When we look at that data, because it's of course a legacy institution, 166 students are right now working in Microsoft. We found actually 34,633 students who claim that they studied at NIT Rourkela and are working in different places in India and outside of India, of which 166 are working in Microsoft, 146 are working in Deloitte, 53 are working in EY, and Qualcomm 227 are working. Now, that's a very, very good number in terms of the kind of performance that they do. In fact, over a period of time, 478 students worked at Microsoft at some point in time, of which 166 are currently working. Same thing with Deloitte, 384 worked at some point in time, and 146 are currently working, and that's how it is. We also wanted to look at the trillion-dollar companies and whether they've recruited and those kind of things. So we found that 32 students are right now working in Meta who studied at NIT Rourkela. 43 are working in Apple. Amazon 197 are working. NVIDIA 40 are working right now, and Google 92 are working. These are very, very good numbers, mind you. Of course, the legacy of the institution also plays a very, very big role in terms of these kind of numbers. But at some point in time, 544 students worked at Amazon, 247 worked at Google, 59 worked at NVIDIA, Apple 87 worked, and Meta 58 worked. So they are all very, very good numbers as a report card, if you will. Now, when I looked at students of where they are currently living and where they're currently working and those kind of things, 85% of the students who studied at NIT Rourkela are right now in India, which also means 15% students are around the world. Now, this is again a good number, which means 15% of the students who studied at NIT Rourkela move out of India and find a great career path outside of India also, which means global mobility of this institution is extremely, extremely good, right? Of this 15%, 7% are in USA. Right, and about 1% in UK, 1% in Canada, 1% in Germany. So you actually have a very, very good thing that is happening here, which is what is very important, that you ultimately need to look at the global mobility and the mobility of the students who study in an institution, of their ability to get into the best companies, not just in India but outside the India, which is what seems to be happening here. We keep covering these institutions. As I told you, we want to keep covering some of these colleges that you wanted. If you want me to cover any college of your choice, please write me a message here and I'll be happy to cover that. Thank you so much. Namaste.